Okay, for time's sake, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. This is the CTC Running Start series, and today is January 21st, and our session today will go from 9 a.m. till 11. I just wanted to say welcome. I hope everyone is having a great start to their new year. I know it's been a minute since we met last in November. I know we took a pause in December, so it's great to see everybody here today. So welcome and a few housekeeping items. We are recording this session. We'll be recording the main presentation only. So when we get to the Q&A portions, we will pause the recording and then resume afterwards. During the whole session, if at any point you have questions, please use the chat feature for questions. Our team will monitor those, and when we have a pause, we will certainly answer those questions that you have. And we ask that when posting a question, include a little context so we know what slide or topic you're referring to. So when we do get to that pause, we will be able to answer that. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of each section. And like I said, not included in the video recording, and the slide deck will be shared out after the presentation. I do want to mention we are not going to be having breakout sessions today. We have a pretty packed agenda, which we'll get to in just a minute. So we will not have our typical breakout sessions during the second portion of the series today. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so introductions. First and foremost, I just wanted to welcome Whatcom Community College. Part of our session today is going to be, we're featuring Whatcom Community College in the Running Start program. So really happy to have them here today. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a second. My name is Stephanie Wall, formerly Stephanie Rock. After 9 years of marriage, I finally decided to change my last name. So if you all are seeing Stephanie Wall and you're like, who is that? That is me. Still the same person. Just decided to change my name finally. So I am a policy associate here at SBCTC in student services and K-12 alignment, and I'll turn it on over to Kristen to introduce herself.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Jowie. I am a program administrator for student services in K through 12 alignment at SBCTC, and I haven't had a name change, so I'm still the same person. Um, and our OSPI folks are going to be joining us in a little bit, so we will go ahead and turn it over to Whatcom Community College for Katie.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. I'm Katie DiOrio. I'm the director of dual credit program, she, her, at Whatcom Community College. We'll just go down the list, starting with Allison. If you could come off mute and say hello.
Good morning, everybody. Are you able to hear me okay? Perfect. Just wanted to say hello. My name is Allison Kanashige. I am one of the career and academic advisors for Running Start here on our team at Whatcom Community College. It's nice to see you all this morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jackie. I work at Whatcom Community College as a Running Start academic and career advisor, and I'm glad to be here.
Morning, everyone. My name is Wavy or Waverly Schruffler, and I'm the third Running Start academic advisor. So Allison and Jackie have been holding down the fort for a while now, and I just came on 2 months ago to take more of the students. So happy to be here.
Wonderful. And sadly, Dan Swigert-Harris, who many of you may know, who's been with the Running Start team a long time, wasn't feeling that well today. So he won't be on Zoom, but if you have questions for him or things about
Okay, I'm in a Zoom meeting.
chat, and I'll forward them on to him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome, Whatcom Community College. We are so happy that you all are here and going to present in just a minute. So we welcome all of you, and we're really looking forward to your presentation. And as Kristen had mentioned, we do have OSPI joining us a little bit later today. So Tim McLean, our director of dual credit program supervisor with OSPI, will be on, as well as Becky McLean, so the manager of enrollment funding and categorical funding. Will be joining us as well for some Q&A and some updates. So let's go ahead and go to the agenda. Perfect. So like I said, we'll have Whatcom Community College. We'll have about 45 minutes for their presentation and then Q&A. If you all have questions, comments, or curiosities for Whatcom as they're going through their presentation today, please feel free, as we mentioned earlier, to put those in the chat. And at the end, we can roll through those and have a Q&A session. And then we're going to provide some dual credit legislative updates. Legislative session got kicked off on January 12th, and it's been busy. So I'm sure you all are aware. So I will provide some updates of what's going on, some resources, all the good stuff when we get to that point in the presentation. And then we'll have OSPI, we'll have Tim and Becky, and then we'll have some opportunity for Q&A with Tim and Becky as well. So that's our agenda today. Like I said, pretty packed and a lot of good stuff. So we will go ahead and turn it on over to Whatcom Community College. Welcome you all and thank you so much.
Wonderful, thank you. Let me share the presentation. Do you see the presentation slides?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Wonderful. I am excited to be here to talk about Running Start at Whatcom Community College. Like Kristen and Stephanie said, pop your questions or comments in the chat. We'd love to see them. I was a little nervous to talk about Whatcom because we've been doing kind of work in a good way for a little while and it felt boring. And then when I finished making the presentation, I feel like I could go for 2 hours. So hopefully my pacing will be good. But today I'm going to share a practical look about how we're staffing and running the Running Start program at Whatcom Community College. Things have changed post-pandemic, and I'll also share what we're going to prioritize next. So a quick agenda. We're going to talk about our current context, what's shaping our work right now, how we do the work, especially onboarding, advising, and enrollment operations, and then the goals that we're building towards. I'd love for you to listen with the lens of what would you want to borrow, what do you do differently, and what assumptions would not translate to your campus. Right. And again, if you have good ideas, please pop them in the chat along with your questions. I'll start with a quick glance of Whatcom Community College. I'm going to give the high-level picture first because our Running Start program makes sense more when you understand the scale and student context. Whatcom Community College, which we often call Whatcom, so not Whatcom County, but just Whatcom for the college, serves about 5,700 students annually. And Running Start is historically about 22% of that total enrollment. So that makes our program an integral part of the enrollment conversation. What our college's student population includes 37% first gen, most 66% are 24 years or younger, and we are primarily a transfer institution, which means about 77% of our students are transfer bound. So in our conversations with students, you hear, what do you want to do next? Where are you headed? And how do you want to keep your options open? Geographically, we are up in that northwest corner and very close to Canada. And most of our students come from Whatcom County. And so that really shapes our district relationships and how local our work is. One of the biggest shifts that continue to show up, maybe at your college as well, is modality. So 64% of our students take at least one course online. And that changes how we do our supports, onboarding, advising, and student engagement. We have about 500 employees on any given day. And we also sit in close proximity to 2 other colleges, Bellingham Technical College and Western Washington University. This makes for great collaboration, especially when it comes to community programming. And it also is an enrollment consideration. So we're working through that. I also want to name our institutional context because, as you know, it affects stability, staffing, and how ambitious our team can be year to year. This year, we have a new college president And we're also in a period of leadership restructure. So as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, this year, we will be ending what we've always had as a vice president for instruction and a vice president for student services. And those positions will be removed and we'll have an executive vice president for instruction and student services. That matters because Running Start requires cross-functional coordination, and when leadership shifts, so do those relationships and then also decision pathways. We recently formed a new AFT union to represent exempt staff. So now Whatcom Community College has 3 unions. And like many colleges, we're navigating what that means for roles, workload, and processes. This year, we've had layoffs. We've also had furloughs, which have been painful. And moving forward, we are expecting more change to come based on the leadership restructure. The reason I'm being so transparent is even if the Running Start team is stable and strong, as it is, institutional instability changes the environment you're operating in. So when I talk about our goals later, some of them are going to be ambitious and some of them are honestly just maintaining stability and predictability for students. So now I'll show you where we lie, dual credit lies within our institution. So dual credit at Whatcom Community College has looked like this. Student Running Start has lived under student services. It started in 1992 with 117 students. And instruction has always led career and technical education, CTE, which it still does in consortium with BTC. But we no longer, as of last year, run a college in the high school program, as it was not financially sustainable. And then as of July 1, all the dual credit will be under the same executive vice president. Here's a little bit about our students and a few trends that I think are interesting. We are back to pre-pandemic headcount and FTE levels, which is great. And summer has become an important part of helping our high school students accelerate their dreams. We expect at least 300 students to take summer classes every year. As I said, Running Start makes up about 22% of Whatcom's enrollment, which makes it operationally significant. And we estimate that 15 to 20% of eligible high school students in Whatcom County enroll at WCC for Running Start. It's not a perfect number, but it just gives you a sense of what's happening in the county and where also some growth and access gaps might be. 26% of our students are provided a fee waiver, and these students are also offered Running Start specific book loans, and we are able to pay for some inclusive access codes for students, and this has become more common and required for course success. About 50% of students are full-time, and then I think one of the biggest shifts is in modality. So 89% of our students take at least one online class now. And pre-pandemic, majority of students were taking at least one in-person course. So we're in a world where almost every Running Start student is hybrid in some way, but the online engagement is higher than before. And so we're designing our programs to fit that. I'm curious if you're also seeing that shift in online students. We weren't sure what was going to stick after the pandemic. So if you wouldn't mind dropping in the chat, what % of your students are taking at least one online course, or any thoughts about, are your students returning to be in person or they prefer online? I'll wait a second.
And Katie, I was just going to say, if it's easier to answer questions as you go, it's totally up to you and your team how you want to do that, or if you want to wait till the end, it's totally your call.
Oh, I can answer questions. I've set myself up so I can't see anybody or the chat.
We can help with that. We can read them off. Here, I
Yeah,
will
I'll take
help.
questions if this is a good spot.
Sure. First question is, how are you funding the book loans? And then there was like an additional question put in there, and access codes, since those are one-time purchases.
That's a great question. We have a budget for our team that we've carved out funds for book loan and access codes specifically. I wish Dan was here. I think we have it, what seems like a significant amount. We have $15,000 for that work annually.
I think those are pretty much all the questions. It was all about access codes. People are interested. Chelsea said, I'd like more info about paying for access codes. I thought it was gifting funds. But it sounds like Dan is our person that we would need for that. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that is how we're paying for them at this point.
Perfect. And then there's just a comment. SCC Colville Center has rural students in the northern counties of Washington, so a lot of our students take online classes. Okay, so I think some curiosities there. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks, Katie.
Cool. Yeah, and interrupt me if questions pile, and I'll try and pause this. Oh. Okay. So another group of folks who are interested in the modality is the high school counselors. I would say they have more of a concern usually about online courses. They do appreciate the access it gives their students. But when we hear about it, it's because they're concerned if students can do well. Our success rate and our course success rate from online is on par with in person. But I know that that's a complicated topic. So for high school counselors, we work with 19 local high schools reliably, and they're a mix of urban, suburban, rural, small, medium, large. And even within our county of Whatcom County, the community norms about what is the best next step after high school varies. Our primary languages, other than English, are Spanish, Russian, and Punjabi. So we have worked to translate outreach materials, and our key video on our website is Running Start Right for You into those languages. I included a couple of pieces of direct feedback from our annual graduation. Oh, no, sorry. This is from our annual survey that we do via SurveyMonkey of our high school counselors. And I included that because these are good reminders of what the districts value. So one is just being a good partner. I think that shows that we're reliable and responsive. Two is just to call out, not only do colleges have capacity issues, but high schools and K through 12 are going through a lot of budget pinches. And so we are trying to provide support for our high school counselors, as Running Start is just one little part of their job. And two is we love it when our students meet with Running Start advisors. This is just reinforcing that advising isn't just a compliance step, that districts really see this as a warm handoff and key to student success. So big themes for us are districts value the consistency, responsiveness, and advising access. And so then we try and build our processes around that. So now I'll share how our team is structured to deliver that. Here's our, what I'm calling administrative structure team on the Running Start team. Before the pandemic, just for context, our team operated more as its own entity and very paper-based. We had an in-person information session during which the application was handed out, and students would come to the physical Running Start office where everyone worked, and they would meet with a Running Start advisor every term to enroll in classes. then the pandemic, and we at the same time moved to CTC Link. And so many processes and leadership changes have led to process changes. So during the pandemic, we lost our program coordinator, FTE, and also our part-time advisors that I'll talk about later. So we've had to do some strategic restructuring. Right now, at Whatcom, we have Orca Central, which is our one-stop. So it's one place on campus where any student can go if they have a question. And those folks know a ton, and they can also transfer the student to where they need to be or make them the correct appointment. So we pay for one of those staff people's salary, a quarter of it, and that's David. So David is at our one stop all day, but then he also has dedicated time to do all the kind of micro tasks and time sensitive communication. So he's the primary staff member who processes EVFs. And I'll get real nitty gritty here. What that means is he receives the email, maybe a paper EVF, but mostly an email with a PDF EVF. He checks it for completion. He removes the CTC Link enrollment block. He enters the maximum credits into CTC Link, and then he uploads the EVF to our customer relationship management system, Navigate 360, and then he also saves it on our college server. Then he replies to the student, and when he replies, he uses a signature. So there's a templated email so that we provide uniform, timely customer service to our students. We also operate with a simple principle: when in doubt, email rstart@whatcom.edu. We found that the shared inbox approach helps us manage continuity and coverage and reduces the dependence on like one staff to do the one thing the student needs. We do have a Running Start phone number, but we don't have dedicated staff to answer it. So the students, if no one is able to answer it, will be routed to our one stop, or the student can leave a voicemail. And then if Dan or I are available to answer the phone, we will, but it's not the priority. So I just share all those things because these are small operational choices we've made that hopefully make the student experience smooth, especially during the peak seasons. Dan is a program specialist. He's been here a long time. He's worked with our registrar as well as Running Start. He provides excellent customer service to students around financial support, book loan, and the fee waivers. And then he also works with the student data, maintaining our databases, CTC Link, billing, reporting, and when available, he'll answer the phone. He isn't able to make it today, but he has a wealth of he's excellent at documenting. So he has this list of queries and most commonly used queries not to use. So if anyone is interested in that part of the work, just email me after and I'll connect you with Dan. As for me, the director's role has changed names to try and keep up with what this position does. Right now I'm a dual credit contact, but because we don't have college in the high school anymore, it's primarily Running Start. I coordinate and support the CTE in terms of the proviso, but primarily Running Start, and all of our staff folks are focused on Running Start. I manage the budget, do the marketing, any new initiatives, and then high school relationships. Okay, so that's admin. I'll pause. Stephanie, any questions?
We do have a few. That is a great place to pause, Katie. Thank you. This is wonderful. First question is, can you say more about uploading the EVF into Navigate? Is that so the student or staff can view it? Is the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is primarily for staff to have all of the information for that student. So if they were to call and have a question, anyone who is able to view that for the student's profile can see if they turned in their EVF and answer any questions. I'll just say a side note is we have, I think this has gotten better, but we've tried to encourage students to ensure that they have a copy of their EVF and they're not, and they feel responsible for that document and they're not just sending it or panning it in without having a copy on their own. So if they happen to turn in a paper EVF, we scan it and we give them the hard copy.
Thank you, Katie. And one more question. And so I think this is pertaining to the program specialist positions that you have. Are they Running Start Specialist 2, 3, or 4 is the question.
Great question. Dan is a program specialist 2. And David, I think is a program specialist 2, but I don't know the answer to that one. He reports to somebody else and just does his work with us. I can check.
Thank you, Katie. And I think that's it for now.
Great. Okay, our Running Start advising team. So for many years pre-pandemic, we used a large team of part-time advisors to ensure that Running Start students were met with every term. There was just kind of a break in the pandemic. We need not go into that details here. But part-time staff have been dramatically reduced at Whatcom College, like community college in general. And so for a long time, like Wavy mentioned, it was Jackie and one other advisor without any of those part-time staff. So they had to be really strategic and kind of change up their approach. So we're very happy now that we've been able to hire a third advisor and bring those caseloads below 400. Obviously, this matters because advising is key to the student experience. And because of this hire, we are able to implement mandatory entry advising starting this spring. So very excited about that. For us, strengthening advising capacity is a way of both protecting student success, making sure that they have their one person to go to, but then also operational sanity. And then finally, in the last couple of years, we've been really focused on enrollment and getting folks in the door. And so we've gotten that to a good place to maintain. And now we're turning our focus into retention as our enrollment strategy, and having this third advisor and mandatory entry advising is key to that. Carla is our associate director. She's had a wealth of knowledge and experience. Both she and Jackie have been here for more than 10 years. She manages the advisors, the prospective students. She does the new student communication, and then she manages our special admission or underage admissions. I think we have about 20 students participate in that annually.
Katie, we have a bunch of questions in the chat. This is a very popular slide.
I love it.
Okay,
I will go ahead and answer those, and then Jackie and Allison and Wavy, please come off mute and add or change.
Perfect. And some of them may be answered. Some of these questions may be answered in follow-up slides here. So we'll start with the first one. What is your ideal caseloads for Running Start advisors, and do they only advise for Running Start?
Great question. And I did not put the context at the beginning. I'm sorry. At Whatcom Community College, we have professional advisors, or they're not faculty, right? So our advisors are student services employees. And so we have general population advising, and they divide their work by program or area of study. We have international, we have workforce funding, and then we have trio, and then our Wavy, Jackie, and Allison only advise Running Start students.
Right.
It is hard to get a number in terms of the best caseload. I think Nakata says something like, we're not going to put a number on it, but 275 might be good. And so that's what we use to try and advocate for another advisor. Also, in the spring, in order to provide mandatory entry advising, which our whole college has moved towards, while still seeing the active students in the program, you just need the numbers to be lower.
Thank you, Katie. And Katie, this is specifically for your position. Katie, do you see students for advising as well? Does your position?
That's a great question. I do not. Carla will see overflow, or if the advisors' schedules are too packed, or for any other reason. She works with the advisors, but then she will also take appointments.
Great. You answered part of this already. How many students on average schedule appointments each quarter, and do you have mandatory advising, which is the answer is a yes on that one.
That is a great question. So one of the things that we have been talking about for the last couple of years to try and get at the number is have the data, or like a data system that can capture that information. And why that is complex is while some of the advising will be mandatory with that mandatory entry, the rest is not. And for the last couple of years, nothing has been mandatory. And so the advisors do appointments on Zoom, and they do appointments in person, but they also do a lot of communicating over email. And we haven't had good ways to capture that asynchronous advising in our systems to show how many appointments or students we're serving that way. So that's been tricky and something, that we're still working through. But just to say, this spring, we're going to start mandatory entry advising. So the idea that every new student would meet with an advisor before they enroll in classes.
Great, thank you. And then next question, does your associate director, Carla, advise students as well?
She'll advise students for, actually probably Jackie could speak a little better to this. So I'll say something, Jackie, you can jump in. She'll advise students on one-offs, like if someone's on vacation or there's just a really busy time. If she meets someone as a prospective student and there's like a special need there that she needs, feels really equipped to work with the student, she will. So yes, but she doesn't have her own caseload.
Perfect. And you kind of spoke to this already. How do you ensure students meet with an advisor each term?
Ooh, great one. Well, there were lots of ways we used to do it, and then recently we haven't. It's been through encouragement. We also have a checklist with 10 steps that every high school counselor gives the Running Start student when they sign the EVF for the first time. And that has meeting with your advisor. But now, starting spring, they will have an enrollment block on their, as a service indicator, negative service indicator on CTC link. And so the advisors will meet with the student, remove that block, and then add a positive indicator that will say the student has met the outcomes of new mandatory entry advising. The student can see the negative block, right? So they know to go do something, go meet with their advisor. And then the positive one is hidden. We just know that if students see something, a service indicator, they want to get clarity about it. And so to provide, make it less confusing, we're going to have that positive one hidden to students.
Thank you, Katie. And again, kind of touched on this a little bit already, but I'm going to read the whole thing here. Do you have mandatory advising for all students or just Running Start? We get feedback that we have to keep all systems and enrollment expectations the same for Running Start and general students.
That's a great question. I think big picture Running Start is trying, we've had to make those changes, right, staffing wise, to integrate into the college. And with that, we are moving towards more and more alignment with general population advising. General population advising started mandatory entry advising this fall, or was it spring? So they led the way, and then we're coming next. I do believe international has, they meet with all their students as well.
Thank you so much. How many Running Start students earn 2-year degrees annually?
Ooh, great question. But, oh, I think that's at the end.
Okay, we can wait on that then.
Okay,
That's fine.
great.
And then it looks like we had a question answered. How many Running Start students does your program have? 1,276. Awesome. And next question. We're almost near the end here, Katie.
Okay.
This is good. Keep them coming, everyone. Do you hold orientations for your new Running Start students? And would that count as mandatory entry advising if you do?
Great question. Yeah, this has definitely been on our mind. I will actually give Jackie a little bit of space to chat and talk if she wants. After I give an intro to those answers. So we just joined the college's new student orientation process. So we do not do our own separate new student orientation. The new student orientation at Whatcom right now is not mandatory. I would say most of the students who do end up going to orientation are Running Start students, but it's not close to all of the students attending. And anyways, for that reasons, the outcomes that we have identified for mandatory entry advising will not be met by just attending that new student orientation. And so it does not count for mandatory entry advising. You know, if we could talk about way back when the college did new student orientation at a kind of a larger, more robust level. And we will be excited to kind of join that movement if we go in that direction. And as we grow capacity with the third advisor, I know they have it on their minds to see what we can do more for Running Start students in the orientation step. But right now it's not mandatory.
Great. All right. And last question. How long are those Running Start mandatory advising meetings set for? Are they 30 minutes?
No, I believe they are scheduled for an hour and they can be done in 45 minutes. But I think now is a great time to just take a quick pause and say, Jackie, I've called you out a couple of times. Is there anything you want to say?
I don't think so. I think you've answered the questions just fine, and nothing else really to add.
Okay. Great. All right. Anything else, Stephanie, or should we move on?
That is it for now. Go ahead, Katie. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
Awesome. All right. Okay. So getting the word out there, especially coming out of the pandemic, we were finding that students, as you all know, right, students were home doing school in their bed and were like disconnected from communities who would be helping them think about dual credit, other than just like their one high school counselor. So anyways, we spent a lot of time and resources on getting the word back out there. So this slide is basically the top of our funnel, how students and families learn about Running Start, and then how we build reliable district communication. So we work with marketing, and every year we have bus boards, so those like big things on the side of buses. We started our marketing push when we had that money in 22, the ESSER money. So we invested a lot of the ESSER money in marketing and then found that the tools that are listed here on the slides to be productive and impactful. And so we kept them. So bus boards, because they're around town, but then they also go out to the counties. Social media. So we post on our own social media. And by we, I mean our marketing team posts the things that we ask for on the college's social media. Running Start does not have our own. And sometimes we pay for boosted or targeted social media pieces. Like in the spring, we're able to do some targeted marketing towards people who have young people living their homes. I don't, that's a marketing, I collaborate with marketing on that. Okay, our website. So we have our website and we have worked hard to make sure that the website is a place that a student, their advocate, their parent, their high school counselor, and then any staff at Whatcom Community College should be able to go to and answer a majority of questions about Running Start. So with our one-stop shop beginning a few years ago and a lot of student staff, we wanted to have everything in one place for them that was kind of always available and at their fingertips. I do not know how well it is used by the parents of Running Start students, but it is kind of like our resource that we can always go to answer questions. We have a couple of documents through Whatcom Community College. They send out a quarterly, we send out a quarterly mailer. There's this annual playbook. It's like all the fun things for kids to do in the summer. And it's like at all the YMCAs, schools, etc. And so we put a big ad in that. And then we have a couple of outreach items, a double-sided flyer, English, Spanish, that we can distribute in addition to that checklist I mentioned that has the 10 steps for new students as well as the advisor information on the back. And we can share this, we share these with high school counselors to distribute, and then also the Whatcom Community College outreach team can give these out when tours come to Whatcom. So our approach to marketing is to meet our families where they are and then help support their student in basically answering the question, is Running Start great for you, like right now? And ensuring these key docs and videos are translated has been part of that. I wanted to mention that, oh yeah, I said we started this with our ESSER money, and we have retained $20,000 each year to do this work. This year for kind of admin things, we're not going to spend that much money, but we usually have retained that since 2022. And that I think is because we have a good relationship with marketing, as well as they see Running Start, Whatcom Running Start advertising is WCC advertising. So I'll be honest, I think Running Start success can depend a lot on whether families can understand the pathway early enough and whether they believe it's for students like them. So we try to make the messaging consistent and repeatable. There are pockets of this county where there's like a really strong support for Running Start students, and cousins tell cousins and aunties tell nephews that like, you know, what Running Start is really like. And so we're looking the next years to engage at the middle school level so that all middle school families have a sense of what the heck dual credit is, so that when they move to high school, they can make better informed decisions. I will pause also because of time. Shall I move a little quicker, Stephanie?
Katie, you are doing wonderful. I think if we go a little over, that is totally fine. And there is just one question right now. So your quarterly mailer, where do you get the mailing list from? That's a great question.
That's a great question. I do believe it goes to like most households, like in the county. I think I'm gonna have to take that as a question back. That's something that the marketing team, it's a Whatcom Community College quarterly mailer, and then we have an ad on it.
Yeah, it's some probably type of like targeted marketing for your region and connected to your community technical college, the area. Yeah, that's a great question. And
And
how
yeah,
many?
that's a really broad one. Like I
Yeah.
see us just mailing it to everybody.
Yeah. And it says how many mailers are sent out. Do you know the number on that, Katie?
Great question.
Yeah,
No.
not sure. Okay. Stay tuned. All right. That's all for now. Go ahead and
Cool.
next slide.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll step it up the pace a little bit. So then we get our students started. We use the OAP application. We put on that enrollment block for mandatory entry advising, like I said, for all new students now, and the EVF block is placed on by the Running Start team. We are trying to meet the high school counselors and students where they are. So the Whatcom Community College outreach team is offering Running Start application sessions at high schools. They'll go out one time. So it's not to serve all students, but it's to support high school counselors who need that support at a particular time, or a particular set of students that need the support. Same thing with onboarding. The onboarding is led by Orca Central or One Stop, and the associate director there will set up Zoom sessions with high school students to complete onboarding steps. So the high school counselors, said I'll have students from 9 to 11, and then every kind of 15-20 minutes, a new student gets on Zoom, and that staff member helps them complete their onboarding steps. Often creating the accounts and the IT process can slow students down. And so again, that's not for all students, that's just for some students, and we ask the high school counselors to identify who those students are. We have the new student orientation that's not mandatory that we talked about. And I think I already gave some details on the EVF and joining box. Yeah, so I will just pause here to say that we are now a new Navigate 360 team. And we are using that. We have the kind of enrollment function running, so students can submit an RFI, or when they apply, their information is now in Nav 360, and there's automated emails and texts that go out once the student completes each step of the way, the steps on our checklist, and that has been really helpful. We can also, a staff member can log on to Nav 360 and see where a student is in the process. And so that clarity or transparency has been really helpful. And now in terms of Nav 360, we're moving to the student success side. So right now we can make appointments, students can make appointments, and we can make advising appointments in Nav 360, but we're beginning the conversations with our instructional friends about how instructors are going to use it, what does early alerts look like, etc. So once onboarding is complete, this is how we operate the Running Start as a student experience and enrollment. We support our Running Start students by assigning them an advisor, and they're going to be doing this mandatory entry advising starting spring. The advisors for the last couple of years has also been going to high schools that opt in for a one-time in-person enrollment session. So they will go to a dedicated spot that the high school counselor has found and ensures there's Wi-Fi, and the high school counselor will pull the students out of class, and they'll do kind of a quick enroll with the advisor. And that has been, I think, a nice support, kind of meeting the high school counselor where they are, knowing that they've just got a lot going on. And there's sometimes some students they want to ensure that handoff is done. Okay, students can self-enroll, of course. Oh, and a new thing now is our team can remove the fee block if the finance block is balance is zero, which is great because we used to have to wait. It was a very manual process in the business office side. So if a student has a fee and then they pay it and their balance is zero, at Whatcom, it's a manual step to remove that block. And our team, the administrative side of Running Start, can now remove that to speed up and not have so much friction in the enrollment process. Okay, now 360 has made texting easier, which has just been really helpful. Students respond well to that. And then, yes, I will slow down here because we have a new college-wide academic standing policy. And academic suspension now requires the student take off 2 terms at Whatcom. And so that is just beginning to be implemented. So I do have a question. If you could put your answer in the chat of like, what intervention are you using to prevent students from leaving good academic standing? Like what's keeping them off academic warning, probation, suspension? As well as, do you feel like you have an academic standing policy at your college that you feel like you've seen success with? Stephanie, are there any questions?
There are questions, yes, and I think people are probably just taking a minute to type that out. That's a great question, Katie. Let me go back real quick here. There's a couple. Okay. How many applications are submitted by potential Running Start students each quarter, including summer quarter? It's a really good question.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think about, this isn't an answer to the question, but we do have summer, we do now encourage our students to apply for summer if they're thinking about summer or fall. Because our first time we did summer running start, we had students who applied for fall but then wanted to do summer, and that just took more work. It was logistically a little time consuming. So we do encourage them to apply for summer. I'm assuming the question is like what percentage of applications become enrolled students?
Yeah, that's probably what yeah, how many applications are submitted by potential Running Start students each quarter, including summer quarter?
Yeah, I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Okay.
That question.
Oh, yep, Linda gave a thumbs up. Okay.
Katie, I think if I can jump in just for a second, for a rough number, I think running the application process that I've seen over our history is generally anywhere from, 30 to maybe 80 on the off quarters, so meaning not the new students going into the new school year. Summer quarter has grown significantly. I want to say that our last summer enrollment was, I think we had 100 or so students enrolled during our summer term. Um, in terms of applications for summer, I'm not sure how many applications there were versus how many actually enrolled. But our summer enrollment continues to grow, which is another reason why the third advisor is helpful because we've essentially added a fourth quarter to our advising load.
Thank you. All right, next question. Do you experience high school's discouraging Running Start? That is a great question.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes, we do. We have yeah, we have a variety of, and it depends, it's dependent on the historical context of the kind of the culture at that school. I think it depends on how much access the school has for staffing other college credit options. Like, do they have the ability to have AP? Do they have the ability to have college in the high school? And I found anecdotally, I think it's also about leadership. So I think some of the relationships kind of post-pandemic, again, we just had there was a lot of new, like I was new, there was like newness on their side. We had some resetting and we were able to go back and be like, oh, wait, why do we do it like this? Or could we do it like that? And Carla was able to engage with more schools to go to their dual credit nights and talk to students directly. But yeah, high schools still have resistance. And then I think we have maybe one out of the 19 who does not accept our invitation to join for those dual credit nights they host for families.
Thank you, Katie. And you just answered two questions of how many high schools you work with. 19 is the answer to that one. Okay, moving down here. Let's see, this might be just a comment. At PC, we've implemented midterm progress reports to try and catch the students early and provide support before the end of the quarter. These reports are sent to their advisors and sent to the high school. So the answer to your question you proposed. And then Anne, we've got a question. How do your advisors feel about split by alpha? Do they find it easy to work with multiple school districts and equivalency list, or would it be easier if the division was by school district? So one advisor was working with all students in one or a few districts. Oh,
Great
and then
question.
it
We
looks like
did.
Jackie actually already answered this. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. Looks like I'll just keep going. This Jackie said, "Thank you, Jackie. The split by alpha works well. We talked about changing to advisors by schools, but we serve 8 comprehensive public schools in our area, and the numbers just didn't work out to assign an advisor to the schools." And then Teresa Ramos added, "At OC Olympic College, we meet with students with a term GPA below 2.0. First quarter is optional, but all others are mandatory." And then we've got Allison jumped in here. We found the split to work pretty smoothly. Working with all the high schools and their varying equivalency guides can feel daunting at first, but it has been nice to have a range of knowledge. We considered a split by schools, but like Jackie mentioned, the numbers and split would have been tricky at this time. Okay, great. Let's see. Oh, and Danny just added. Oh, but she's talking to Teresa Ramos. Is that true for all of your students or just your Running Start students? So we'll stay tuned for that. Oh, all of them. Okay, people are very quick to answer. Thank you. Okay, keep going here. Lots of comments. Let's see. At Clover Park Technical College, we do use the alert system and navigate. We have room for growth in this area, I think. And then Nora at Shoreline, we have 3 levels of academic standard, notice, intervention, and restriction. For notice, students get an email letting them know they are on notice and offer resources. For intervention, the student has to fill out an assessment and then meet with an advisor. For restriction, they have to fill out an assessment and meet with the director of advising. This often means they are restricted in how many credits they can register for. Okay, and let's see here. There's a couple more comments. Yeah, I'll finish it up here. I feel like we're kind of stuck. I'm not sure who, Adriana, not sure what college. I feel like we're kind of stuck on this step. We do not require students meet with us. We've asked high school counselors to send us names for any students of concern, and we do outreach to them by week 2 of the quarter and again around week 6, but we need ideas. Fair enough. Okay, wonderful. Wenatchee Valley College places a hold on students who have fallen on probation, which requires students to step up a meeting with their advisor. We take it a step further and require students and their parents to meet with us and submit biweekly progress reports of their new grade. We also send out emails now to students and high school counselors letting them know of their academic status and what their next steps are to avoid getting to the suspension stage. Okay. All right. And then GRC requires students at first level warning to meet with an advisor or new this quarter, they can attend a study skills or self-advocacy workshop. Also at second level, a meeting is required. Third consecutive is a 1-quarter dismissal. Okay. And that's what we got so far. All right. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Katie.
Awesome. So every year, Whatcom Community College sends out a graduation survey to graduates, and I just wanted to pause here. I feel like it's important and good to chase what we can always do to improve, but just also pause and notice what the students are also feeling successful about. The student describes the program as relatively easy to follow and maintain with high school and work. And it gave them an extremely valuable head start. And to me, the easy to follow part is important. Obviously, it's not easy academically, but it's easy to understand. And so that feels successful. Here's a little bit about our student outcomes and success. Our student success rate is higher than the college as a whole, 87% course success rate across all modalities. 17% earn an associate degree within their high school years. We continue to get positive responses to the graduation survey, knowing, of course, they don't all respond. And then I've just included a link here to our student success stories on our website. The idea was trying to have a place where students could go, or high school counselors could go, or families, to see kind of the different trajectories that students have taken and how they have used Running Start to accelerate their dreams. We could probably do more with that, but it lives there at this point. Yeah, we try to hold both truths that Running Start is an access program and it's an academic program, and both require careful attention. And finally, I will close with where we are headed. So I hope you take away, or I have said, we are excited to begin mandatory entry advising this spring. We have been really focused on enrollment, increasing applications, making onboarding smoother, and now we're really turning our focus to retention through advising and stability. With academic planning, our goal is that academic planning will be in NAV 360 by the end of the year. This is something that we are working hard on. I think those of you in NAV with us know that, well, any change of technology is not simple, but we're just moving towards wanting academic planning and advising documentation to live in a shared, accessible location. So a student has it at their fingertips and doesn't rely on one person emailing them some information. Three, I think I touched on this before, but the third goal is like a real goal. We're going through with the institutional changes and staffing shifts and budget realities. We want the students and districts to experience Running Start as steady and reliable. This means protecting our service levels and keeping the processes clear and avoiding major whiplash from year to year. But it also really means supporting staff stability, maintaining manageable workloads, identifying what we'd like to do, but we need to set aside for now so that we can focus on our priorities. We have a great team full of wonderful, varied expertise. And so just ensuring the structure and consistency makes the work sustainable for the people doing it, and the staff feels supported, and that the operation is steady and everyone feels as much stability as possible. I totally went over time, but if your team has a goal, I'd love, big or small, I'd love to hear in the chat what your top goal or goals are, especially if you're making changes to your advising models or early alert strategies, which many of you have already put in there. So I'll stop there with the WCC overview. If anyone wants to connect later, please let me know. We'd love to be helpful, and I'd love to learn what's going on with you all. That's it. Thank you so much.
Hooray! Huge round of applause for Katie Diorio and her team. That was just a fantastic presentation. I think based on the level of commentary and questions in the chat, Katie, outstanding job. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thank you to you all for the great questions and engagement today. Thank you, Whatcom Community College team. And I just wanted to do a plug too. If anybody has interest in featuring their program and talking about what the great work that you all are doing or the challenges that you have, please reach out to myself or Kristen. We would be happy to put you on the schedule, because I think this is really important to be able to share, right, with each other of what's going on. So as always, we're trying to try different formats of sharing information. I know we're not doing the breakout sessions today, but thank you so much, Katie. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Whatcom Community College team. All right. We are going to go ahead and move forward. Legislative updates, and then we're going to turn it on over to OSPI. Tim and Becky, thank you for being here. I see you all. Thank you, Kristen. Perfect. Pull the slides back up here. So dual credit legislative updates. I have kind of put this from like a community technical college standpoint. But I wanted to share out. So legislative session has been very active and busy. It got kicked off January 12th. Um, I will say something important to note right away is any bills with fiscal notes probably are not going to make it. We're in a bit of a budget crisis, and so everything that probably has a fiscal note won't most likely go through. So I just wanted to say that up front. Um, so what's going on so far? So the governor's budget proposal. Does have in there to lower the running start enrollment cap from 1.4 to 1.2 AAFTE beginning in the academic year of 2026-2027. So that would have significant impact for us. That's basically putting the X on summer running start. So we are closely monitoring this. Our legislative director, SBCTC's legislative director, is monitoring this. So we will keep a post, but essentially this is really going to impact our low income students significantly. Summer term is our highest, we have our highest percentage of low income students, and I know you all see this on the ground at your colleges. This is going to impact students who are in our professional technical programs, degree completion, all kinds of things. So we are working on not only monitoring it, but also putting together at the very bottom of this slide. There's a note about a dual credit work session, which is going to happen next week on January 26th. The time is still, I believe, to be determined, but it will be broadcasted on TVW, and the link is there. I highly suggest everybody tunes in for that. We are going to have our director of student services and K-12 alignment, Jamie Traugott, is going to be presenting alongside our Council of Presidents four-year partner, Julie Garver, and others as well on keeping the funding for Running Start, right? It's important. I just wanted to point that out. The other piece of legislation that there's a bill, HB 2375, and this one also we are monitoring closely. It's about Running Start allocation. And basically what this bill would do is it would replace the stable 7% district withholding with a variable formula tied to tuition levels. Because it would be tied to tuition levels, we know that our community technical colleges pride ourselves on having low tuition rates for students, so it would impact our community technical college system significantly. I actually was just looking at what the fiscal impact would potentially be, and using the proposed uniform rates from the governor's supplemental budget and our tuition and fees that we have established for academic year 2026-2027, the loss for colleges per FTE is about 50% of what we would currently receive. So I know, ouch, that would be a huge significant change impact for our community technical college system. So again, very closely monitoring this. I know, Chelsea, yes. Not just monitoring this, doing all we can to make sure this does not happen. Just wanted to point those two pieces out. And then thank you so much, Kristen. Kristen's dropped in the chat there all kinds of resources that are included on this slide. One of which is, as you can see here, this 2026 Running Start Access and Funding Overview. Our Student Services and K-12 alignment team has put together this one-pager that was actually shared with all your college presidents on Friday. And we wanted to share it with you all here too. I believe it went out to WISC, the Student Services Council. I think it was yesterday. So this is getting cycled around our community technical college system, but it just has a lot of data on it and what the impact basically would be between the governor's budget proposal for lowering the enrollment cap from 1.4 to 1.2, and then also some of the impact that would happen with the HB 2375. So I encourage you all to take a look at that, share that out, get the word out. That's what it's there for. So I just wanted to make mention of that. And Kristen, I see you're unmuted. Did we have some questions in the chat?
Yeah. So we're wondering if we can get clarification on the summer running start. Are you suggesting that with potential FTE decrease, summer running start would become unavailable?
That is a really great question. So it's not clear to my understanding if summer would be an option if students have the FTE available. I know Tim is on this call, so I'm curious what his thoughts might be on that. But right now it's really just about lowering that enrollment cap. So I don't know if summer would still be potentially an option for students. I'm unclear on that at this point. I think we need, that's
Uh,
part of this. We need, oh, Tim's going to chime in. Tim, what do you
yeah,
think?
yeah. I didn't read anything in there that would suggest there's an impact to summer running start, except in the FTE availability that students may have. We're statutorily required now to offer summer running start and to make it available to students. It would take some specific bill language to undo that, I think. So I don't think the risk is that summer running start is going to go away so much as it's going to make fewer students eligible for it with the FTE potentially the limitation lowered again. It undoes a lot of work that we've put in
Yes, it
over the
does.
last 3 years. It's a tough pill to swallow. Hopefully we don't need to.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye. Like I said, we're monitoring this because, as Tim just mentioned, if there's a bill that's introduced that maybe does take away summer, but again, it's going to be that cut to the FTE for students, so they might not necessarily have it available to then take summer courses. So yeah, that's a really great question. Did we have other? I see there's other stuff going on in the chat here too.
Yeah, just to keep it with the summer running start for a moment, would this take effect in summer 2027 or summer
Yes,
2026?
It
Tim.
it would
Yeah,
be
what?
summer 27. Our
Okay.
our summer our FTE limit is already baked for this year. Summer is a continuation of this academic year. So summer 26 would proceed as we would expect it to. This would take effect for summer 27. Since I'm unmuted, I can jump in on the second question that I saw pop in there. 10th grade eligibility, again, that was written into statute. And FTE isn't so much a factor for 10th graders. So with rising juniors being included in its own bill a couple years ago, I don't see that changing without a bill that affects that, and we haven't seen it yet.
Yep. Thank you, Tim. Again, monitoring this situation closely on what's going to happen, what's going on, and if there are going to be bills introduced. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that.
Last question.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the potential loss to CTCs for HB 2375, please?
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, so using the proposed uniform rates from the governor's supplemental budget and our tuition and fees for the academic year 2026-2027, the loss for colleges per FTE is 50% of what they currently receive. So significant impact this would have on our community technical college system. And then I see a question. They would have to self-pay through since they should be 1.0 at the high school. Self-pay. No, so for rising juniors, no, they wouldn't self-pay unless there was a bill that changed that. And they'd have the available FTE. Okay. Any other questions that I missed there? Are we good in the chat?
You're good.
Okay, cool. All right. So yes, so again, keeping a close eye on everything. Some resources for you all. So tracking bills, and we have some system one pagers, again, pertaining to our community technical college system. The first point there, the student services and K-12 alignment bill tracker sheet. Kristen is amazing and put this together for our team. And so that just kind of gives you a close look. This was shared out also on Whisk. So all of your VPs of student services have access to this as well. But it's a pretty cool tool. It just shows you what we're tracking and who's assigned to what bills and where they're at. So take a look at that if you'd like. Also, there's a link to just if you wanted to kind of take a look at what's happening in the legislature, you can go to that link as well. And I know Kristen dropped all these up top, and then we're also going to share out this slide deck as well. And then there's also the other two resources here are the CTC operating budget request and then the supplemental capital budget request. So just sharing out with you all what's happening, what's being requested within our community technical college system as a whole. And then I already referred there to the dual credit work session that's going to happen next week. So with all that being said, and if you have any student testimony, if you would be interested in testifying, written or verbal, please reach out to me. I know that I've talked to several of you already. Kristen and I are tracking and keeping track of those. So when it is needed, if it is needed, and hearings are scheduled, that we are ready to go as a system. So again, don't hesitate. Just reach out to myself or Kristen if you would like to provide student testimony, if you would like to provide written or verbal testimony if needed. So wanted to just give everybody a heads up of what's going on. That's where we are currently at, unfortunately. Okay. Is there any other questions I missed, or those are just some comments here?
Just comments.
Okay, wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and then move on we're going to pass on over to Tim at OSPI. Thanks so much, Tim, for being here. And thank you so much, Becky, too. I know that Becky's on here as well. Appreciate you both.
Yeah, happy to be here. And Stephanie, thank you for running us through the legislative updates. It covers a lot of ground that I might have otherwise taken up. But yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces with regard to Running Start right now that we are also keeping our eye on. And it impacts this first agenda item. I don't have a ton of updates, but I do want to touch on the RSCVF because we've been getting a lot of questions about it. We are going to stick with the 25-26 version for the moment. If you're getting questions from schools and districts about how to get students moving down that path, 25-26 version is acceptable. What changes we may make or will make will be modest. They're not going to impact the content of the document so much. And ultimately, the reason for waiting is we want to get through policy cutoff on February 4th so that we know about this proposed FTE rollback. If we go and change the form now and then that happens, it's going to upend the form altogether. And it'll do that regardless, but why put the extra work into updating something that's going to change anyway? As you know, the RSCVF has all of the FTE calculations embedded in it. So just a little word of warning, if this comes to fruition, we would need to redo RSCVFs for, I think, all students, essentially, that filled them out prior to this change occurring, because it's going to affect the available FTE that they have. And the number of credits or classes that they can take at your colleges. So bottom line is we're going to wait and see and cross our fingers and advocate that we keep the 1.4 that we have tried so hard to implement over the past 3 years. We do not want to go back. So that being said, if there are when there are changes to the RSAVF, here's what we have discussed and the feedback that I've received. We are going to do something, as I've promised for a long time now, to simplify the FRPL section. I know that caused a lot of confusion, the question of student consent and boxes being checked or unchecked. We are going to remove that student consent section because it's not necessary. We have a caveat on the form already that says as much, that FERPA allows this information to change hands, and it's also in statute. So we're going to simplify FRPL. It will likely just be the counselor checkbox. No need for additional signatures. It should be viewed as a trusted document among the colleges. We don't need to go through extra verification unnecessarily. So we're going to clean that up. One thing that we will be adding, because of the newest developments around the high school and beyond plan and some of the guidance we've put out around Running Start students in high school and beyond plan, we're going to put a disclaimer in there somewhere. I think it's going to be in that signature block, that just acknowledges the fact that if you are a diploma seeking student, traditional in nature, you're going to need to do the high school and beyond plan in school links. Just another way of reinforcing that. But along similar lines, I am strongly considering and still seeking feedback, so you're welcome to send it to me, an indicator for non-diploma seekers on the form. As simple as another checkbox. We added, for instance, last year, the year before, we added the homeschool checkbox. Maybe even tweaking that to read non-diploma seeking student or something of that nature, so that there is more clarity between both the high school and the college about what a student's intended course of course taking might be. So we will be looking to add something to clarify that. I do want to emphasize, both on the forum but also with the audience that I have here, the importance of the parent guardian signature. There have been a lot of questions floating around in the last year about, does a parent really need to sign this? What can a parent revoke their permission for a student to do Running Start? And the answer is, if the student's under 18, they do. And so we just want to reinforce that. It already says required on the form, but as we've thought more about the repercussions of not having that parent signature, they're pretty significant. If you consider yourself, put yourself in the shoes of a parent, or maybe you are a parent, and think about your student going off to a college without your knowledge or without your permission, which perhaps is even worse. I think that gets us into some liability issues and also some questions about the school's role and responsibility in guiding the student to a diploma. So it is required. It has always been required. I just feel the need to reinforce it, particularly this year, as a lot of questions have bubbled up around it. And then finally, the big question about requested, intended, recommended classes. I want to be clear about why this got changed in the first place. When we reformatted the RSEVF, we were trying to make two sides distinct, a student-facing side and a counselor-facing side. We removed the recommended class, the word recommended, from that class section because we wanted to be clear that this is for the student to complete, and it's not a place for the counselor to cull through the college catalog. That had unintended consequences. I've heard from all of you that students feel like they're locked in to whatever selection is put in that box and they can't move around. So my question, I don't know how to do this. I meant to ask for a poll. My preference right now, I don't want to go back to recommended, because that puts the onus back on the counselor to recommend classes. And that wasn't the intent in our restructuring. My preference right now is intended college classes. That indicates an intent, or I want to take something along these lines to get this equivalent, but it doesn't put the onus on the counselor to recommend it. The other option would be requested. A student is requesting this class. Doesn't mean they'll get it, doesn't mean they can't pivot, but those would be the two options. Maybe you can put your vote in the chat.
And I can set up a poll.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
what
I
was
can
the
keep
question?
preference between intended or requested, and maybe a third option of I don't like either.
And while Kristen does that, Tim, I just wanted to point out something that happened in the chat. There's about 12 folks that have thumbsed up an additional ask for an edit to the RSEVF.
Okay.
Can we please add a date field back to the high school council
Oh, yeah,
signature?
that's on the list. I don't know why it didn't make
I
my
thought so
deck.
too. We've talked
Yes.
about that. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
And
That
then
was
yeah, I remember us talking about it. And then any idea when the new summer 2026 EVF will be released? And obviously after February 4th, maybe March sometime.
yeah.
That feel right?
Yeah, we'll talk. I'm not sure that we need to make significant changes that wouldn't just mirror what we're doing with the other RSEVF. It'll be after February 4th. Um, I'll be working on it. I'm already working on it. But we just don't want to make any decisions until we know what's going on because we'll have to undo, redo everything. So we'll let this poll roll. It looks like right now we're significantly leaning towards intended, which I love because that was my favorite word. So keep them coming. And we'll go to the next slide while the poll continues to populate. Okay. A couple clarifiers on high school and beyond plan because things have come up, bubbled up from various districts, and you've communicated them to me. There will be a forthcoming listserv communication about both the RSEVF and the fact that we're going to wait a beat, and the high school and beyond plan, and it's going to center on the question of high school and beyond plan being used to withhold the RSEVF. We're of the opinion, as all of you are, that that should not be occurring. They are separate things. They are separate requirements. They shouldn't be conflated. One shouldn't be used as a stick or a carrot for the other. So we are going to be clear about that. Need to reinforce, of course, that using the high school and beyond plan in advising is a best practice. I do not want anybody to walk away from the decision that we're going to communicate thinking, well, okay, good. We don't have to worry about the high school and beyond plan. I mean, it is a counseling tool and it is critical that we support its use, support its completion, and it is a graduation requirement. Again, I'm going to reinforce that on the RSEVF. But as I said, the high school and beyond plan is its own requirement. The penalty, if you will, for not doing it is you don't get your diploma. It shouldn't be more than that. So we will not be limiting running start access vis-a-vis the high school and beyond plan. I think that's the answer you were all seeking, and I will be delivering that through the listserv shortly. As I mentioned, we are exploring the scope and sequence, or I'm sorry, we are considering the designation on the RSEVF to help clarify who would and who would potentially not be completing the RSEVF. That could be a helpful just data point for you. We will be updating the Running Start High School and Beyond plan guidance. There's a couple other elements that we'll probably be inserting into that, but that's also a conversation we're having with our flexible learning options team. So that's a work in progress. I don't have a great timeline on it. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at the scope and sequence of high school and beyond planning in the way that it's set up for the next year's cohort to see if we can embed like an intent indicator within school links, the platform itself, that again would give us at the K-12 level a better indication of what track a student is taking, whether they are diploma seeking or whether they are looking to get their diploma issued by the college, something that would give us a data point within the system to identify that. So we are going to be trying to make progress, but in the meantime, we will make a clear statement that they should not be putting in practices that um, preclude access to Running Start simply because of the existence of the high school and beyond plan.
Tim, I noticed something in the chat I just wanted to bring up real quick, and it's not about the high school and beyond plan. It's back to kind of that RSEVF. A lot of folks in the chat are saying prefer a list of only classes students still has to complete for high school credit. Can that be a poll option? So basically not the word intent, but somehow making it clear that these are the courses that students need to complete their high school diploma, or still have to complete. Um,
I, if I'm being really honest, that that's probably a bridge too far for our counselors who are already overtasked and already have really high caseloads, and admittedly have challenges with Running Start and how they're being supported. It's certainly something we've heard before. I will continue to take it under advisement. I don't think it's a change we're ready for now. Especially, I know you're ready for it, but I think at the K-12 level, that will take some negotiation and some really intentional conversations. And let's be honest, I don't have a horse in the race, and I'm not supporting the legislation we just talked about. Um, but that would go a long way towards making districts happier. I don't, that's a chilling statement. I'm sorry. But like, their one of their greatest concerns is that they are not getting resourced for doing the work around Running Start for students that are leaving their schools and the money that's following them. So I think that would be a lot to ask them under the current circumstances, and they're short-staffed, they're underfunded right now. They're taking hits along with the rest of us in this budget climate. That's my honest, transparent opinion on the matter.
Jamie, can I butt in? It's Linda at W College.
Yeah.
We have just about 4,000 headcount Running Start students. Absolutely not. We don't want our high school counselors having to spend time writing in the high school graduation requirements that are left. We make that from the get-go students' responsibility that the first time they meet with the high school counselor, they need to get a correct list of what they have remaining for high school graduation. And we have our advisors track that as they go through if they choose to meet with one of our advisors. That would be a nightmare for us.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate you. I saw your comment in the chat. No. And thank you, everybody. This is why we do these things every month, is so that we can get ideas and feedback. And, Tim and I will take it back and see what we can do or cannot do with all the folks that we have to communicate with. So I really appreciate you all. All right, Tim, I'll turn back over to you. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's all I had, but I'm seeing some other questions. Katie, does School Links have an area that will show that? I thank you for bringing that up. I think that eventually it will. The course planner feature of School Links, I think has that capacity, and it'll be able to identify the graduation pathway that a student is on or pursuing, and that can change, of course. But I do think Course Planner will have a lot more powerful tools for us, but it's not going to be required until 27, 28. There are schools that are working on it now. This year's cohort has the option to utilize Course Planner, but I don't think that it's universally going to be required until 27, 28, but it should have that power, yes. Has a form been created for seniors wanting to defer their graduation access to Running Start in the summer? No, it has not. it will accompany the RSEVF.
All right, thank you, Tim. And then I think we have Becky next. All right.
Hi.
Hello, Becky. Thank you for being here. And we everybody was very excited to have you join us today. And we had a lot of requests during our November session to see if Becky could join. So here is Becky McLean, everyone. She's got some updates for you all.
Hi. Yes, yes. Thank you for the invitation. So I'm here to talk about the change to the running start date. And just so that you know that we had to put an emergency rule in, that was placed, it was put in place. Can you hear me? Is it, you're not picking up? Okay. That was put in place starting for the new school year, 25-26. And what it states is the current emergency rule states that the the count, the 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 first count of a college term is the fourth school day of that month. And then the remaining months will be the first school day. And why this happened was because there was the state auditors were at a college, and currently, as you know, or part of this, the rule was the first school day of every month. And they were auditing, and they saw like January, where how can if the college started January 5th, how how can they claim classes that might start on Tuesday, since the requirements is you have to be enrolled on the count date and you have to show participation on the count date. So how can you participate when the class is the next day? So this is for all for high schools. The first count date is always the fourth school day of the year, and that gives you that time to get enrolled and show participation. So in alignment with that, we made this emergency change. Now, I think the permanent rule that we have in place, because there was a lot of confusion about what this really meant, the first term, first count of the school day. So the permanent rule will say more something like this: for quarters, it'll be the fourth school day of October, January, and April. And then for semesters, it would be the fourth school day of September and January. Actually, I think also for quarters, it should be the fourth school day of October, January, April, and July to pick up the summer quarter. So, but the remaining school days will always, the remaining count days will always be the first school day of the month. Okay. So next slide. So also what the auditors found was it's a per class, that you're claiming students who are enrolled in a class and have shown participation in that class. I guess they were seeing at times where, like for example, January, the college was claiming the December class, even though it was not part of that quarter. So it's gonna, the count, just to clarify, that you're claiming based on courses that students are enrolled in on the count date and had shown participation on or before that count date. And just so that you know, the participation, there's no changes to that rule, that you have to be enrolled in the count date and participate on or before the count date. That rule has always been in place, and it's found in WAC 392.169.022. And part of that participation, I just provided you here what participation could look like. So here's an example. Let's say you had a student that maybe enrolled in the winter quarter and for 2 credits, but they did not participate by the fourth school day of January. You wouldn't be able to claim the 1 5-credit class, but you could claim the second 5-credit class. Okay. Next slide. And so then, of course, colleges complete the P223RS form, and to indicate what students can be claimed, and that form is due to the district by the 8th of the calendar month. And districts have a few days to get the count to me. And so what we want, we understanding the backing up of this, making the fourth day shortens your timeline to get your form prepared to send to the district. So we do need a count. The district has to submit a count, even if it's not the actual count. So we would ask that you, depending on if you're not able to get the count to them on time, that you send them an estimate of what your count will be that month, and then to make their the eighth calendar day deadline, and then submit a second form when you know what the actual count is. This is important because the counts are used for funding, but they're also used for forecasting, and especially in this, time of decrease in enrollment, we really, the state forecast counselor is really wanting to make sure that we get the best count we can get so that they can forecast, which then ends up being part of the budget process, the budget development process. So, okay, and that's what I have to say.
We are at time. I know it's been a heavy session full of a lot of great information. Thank you, Whatcom Community College. Thank you, Tim and Becky, as always. Really appreciate you all. We are going to send the slide deck out with all the resources. Wishing you all a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you next week in February or next month. Take care.